The different things today. We're having a great time. Let's bring a guest that we're super happy to have in the building right now. Don't worry, he's at my wife's station right now, so my wife's name is going to come up on the screen. His name is not Samia, but he will introduce himself, and we'll get into a conversation that's vitally important. I want to welcome Sydney to the building. Sydney, welcome to the building, sir.
Thank you, thank you. It's great to finally be here with Third Eye. Third Eye's been doing so many great things with the youth of New Bedford. It's an honor to be here. I'm Sydney Murray. I'm on the board of directors at the Red Cross. I know it says help over here. I'm with the Red Cross, so usually I'm here to help. We think about Black History Month, and you'll hear people say, well, why Black History Month? And, it is American history. Black history is American history. We were taught about Thomas Edison and the Wright brothers and Ben Franklin. But do people know about Garrett Morgan, who created the three-light traffic light? Frederick McKinley, who created the refrigerated truck? Mark Dean, who created the color IBM monitor and the gig chip? Some of these things we weren't taught. And, it's great to have that because people, if people don't know about it, they don't believe it exists. And, I sent out a post for my group because I'm on the board chair for the Committee for Diversity and Inclusion for the Red Cross Southern New England. I'm also on the board for that Red Cross. And I'm the chairman of the board at the Health Center in New Bedford. So when I sent out a post about Holocaust Remembrance Day, because I know you talk about allies, I have a great woman on my board, Laura Rosenthal, and she said to me, she goes, "You remember every day." And that was so poignant for me, where I said, every day you remember. And those histories are very similar. And so every day we should remember, because if you forget, you're lost. So let me move forward, because they talk about the Red Cross. So in terms of history, Frederick Douglass, who everybody knows about because we had the Frederick Douglass House in Dartmouth, at UMass Dartmouth, and we have a lot of the Frederick Douglass speech competitions. So Frederick Douglass and Clara Barton, who founded the Red Cross, had a good relationship. So when she was bringing support to the troops, one of the groups of troops that she helped support during the Civil War was the 54th Regiment that Frederick Douglass recruited. So Frederick Douglass as a Register of Deeds, he signed the original articles of incorporation for the American Red Cross when they were submitted to the municipal authorities. So the articles legally documented the creation of the American Red Cross. Charles Drew was the father of the blood bank, World War II. Charles Drew, eventually he left the Red Cross because of, back in the 40s, it was still segregated. So at the time, the military and the Red Cross said, we want to separate the blood, white blood and black blood, we're going to lay the blood. And Charles Drew said, I'm out. This is not what I'm about, and this doesn't make any sense scientifically. So, we look at local heroes. You have Mary Barrows from New Bedford, State Board of Education, State Committee Rep, and she's a co-founder of the Great New Bedford Health Center, where I'm the chairman. And we look at Ruby Doughton, the first of African American to serve on a school committee in New Bedford. And then we have people now who are always making history. I met Elaine Sanchez. She's a graduate of UMass, and she works for AmeriCorps. I look at your wife, Peter, Samaya Walker, E for All. When we talk about generational wealth, how are you going to have generational wealth if you can't start your own business and run it successfully? So when I talk to people, I always tell them, that's where you need to go to start your business. If you're not going to college, or let's say you are in college and you want to start a business as well, that's the place to go. Always use local resources. And you, Third Eye, that is the movement. You do so much for the youth, and people talk about the children of the future, but the children are the future.
Absolutely.
And I always talk about Dr. Hall from the New Bedford NAACP, as well as Damone Chaplin, the Director of Public Health. So people will say, Sydney, what is the Red Cross doing for Black History Month? And well, the Red Cross's mission is to alleviate suffering, to prevent and alleviate suffering through the good work of our volunteers and our donors. So we also focus on sickle cell. So sickle cell is one of those diseases that primarily affects African Americans. And the problem is 15% of of our population is African American, but only 2 to 3% donate. So I'm looking to get more people because, we're looking for more. It's the best match is somebody of the same race or ethnicity. And, we're looking for African American and Hispanic donors. And I have friends who are like, I'm Spanish, but how can I donate? I said, well, you sort of have to look into your history and see what the connection is and why you can donate. I can tell you, but it's always great to educate yourself. And we're also looking for more Hispanic donors because we have a huge Hispanic population, and a lot of them are, most of the Hispanic people, we found that around 60% are type O. Type O blood is used in trauma patients and for premature babies. We're doing more diversity training because you can't be sort of segregated or separated. We need more people and we need to understand each other. So I'm doing live outreach, and my committee's doing great work. We're working with the YWCA. They always get mad at me. I never make a mistake until now. YWCA, Gail Forge, Jordan Latham, they're doing a lot of teaching about, to make everybody one and not all of a sudden this group here and this group, to bring everybody, and you can only do that with education. So it's not about a lot of eyes today. It's about grooming leaders. I'm here to groom leaders. Correct. And when I gave a speech on Martin Luther King Day for UMass, I said, if I'm here again next year giving the same speech, I failed.
Yes.
I need new people. Now, why do I need people? Because we need different voices. We need people who speak different languages. We need people who look different because, in my work with some of the communities, Hispanic communities, they say, we like to see people who look like us, who speak our language to make us feel more welcome. So I'm looking for everybody, especially the youth. You might be a TikTok master. You might be the king of Clubhouse. You might be a brand ambassador. The Red Cross needs you to lead in your community. And people always ask me questions. Well, what about this? What about that? We need your lead. And if anything the Red Cross can do, we have internships. We are working on, you see all the fires we're having in New Bedford. We have a smoke alarm campaign, free smoke alarms. And for the small businesses, so I talk about promoting entrepreneurship for all, we have a READY campaign. So it's called a READY rating. So your business is OSHA certified and, you have all the safety precautions you need, and that's free. So the Red Cross is here as a community partner, and it's an honor to be here. And, I hope to work more with Third Eye in the future.
Absolutely. And I just want to say thank you for being here as well, because this is an important conversation as I did some more homework myself. Actually, Dr. Drew was someone that last year and this year we recognize in our modern Black history approach, even though it's not essentially modern. It's modern in the sense that a lot of people don't know. Like you said, there's many Black figures and people of color that have contributed a lot to society. And we have lost the ability to have those conversations sometimes because it gets politicized more than just having it used as a inspirational point to do more. And the more each of us do together collectively, the more we can make a change. It's interesting that you're talking about sickle cell because that's something that we've all are privy to. But a lot of the times, again, we get problem focused, which we know is sickle cell is an issue, but we're not talking about the solutions or the remedies to actually get it done. So we need to be more solution oriented. I cannot express enough my gratitude for you to have this conversation. What in your professional perspective would be the best way for someone to get involved with the American Red Cross, even if they just want to volunteer? I have some people here saying they want to get involved.
Here's the magic about the Red Cross. I know we're in COVID, so we have tons of positions with the Red Cross. And if you wanted to ask any questions, I'll just quickly throw out my email. It's Sidney, SIDNEY .murray@redcross.org. But you can get involved virtually. We have Service to the Armed Forces. We have, which is great because you can contact people who have just gone into the military. You contact their parents because we have a service that allows communications. So if you're deployed somewhere and your mother gets sick or your wife's having a baby, the Red Cross is there to get the information and send it to your command to let them make the decisions about whether or not you can come back. And also we do the blood donation. We're always looking for people to donate blood, like I said. You can do more. We have the disaster services because even when they have the fires, we have one person who'll go and run out and give cards, but you could be the person who gets the call and you talk to the people. You could comfort them. And that way there are a million ways you can lead. We have programs for kids. It's a pillowcase campaign where the kids can learn how to keep their family safe. And we have it in Spanish, we have it in English. And I tell people, so here's the magic. I said, we talk about minorities and boards. And I have a great executive director because she picked me out of, she had no idea I had all this energy for the Red Cross. And she sort of picked me, started talking. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, here's the thing, Sydney. It's about giving, not just giving somebody a seat at the table, but they have to have a voice.
Yes.
I want to give you a voice. And we've all seen, you and I talk about some of these boards. And I can tell you, I've been at a lot of these boards where you can just sit there and they won't give you a voice or they won't get back to you. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wait, I just got on this board. How is this happening? But it teaches guys like you and myself how to run the board.
Correct.
To be responsive. And I can tell you, as being, I think somebody said, well, how do you get all this energy? Between you and me, the perception of, let's say, so all of a sudden I get on there and I got all this crazy energy. I can't stop because I won't be that guy. Yes. I won't be the guy they just put on the board so he can just sit there and stare while everything else is going on. I need to be a mover and a shaker. And because I'm in New Bedford, my question is, how much can I get done? How many people can I help?
Yes.
Groups can I reach out to? And I'm reaching out. I'm meeting a lot of great people. I talked to Ian Abreu, great.
Yes.
Spencer is a leader. Elaine Da Silva Hughes, immigrants assistance, CEDC with Corinne Williams. That's just to name a few people. Yes. But these are our go-to people who I can call and boom, this is what we're going to do. We're still having meetings from the Washburn Street fire, still helping people. And from every fire that pops up, we're still doing follow-up and follow-up. Mm-hmm. So I want to do as much as I can for New Bedford. I've been here since 97. And what do they say? If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So listen, I look forward to working with you, your wife, anybody out there. I want to help. I want to see what we can do. At some point we take the show on the road. We get New Bedford up and running because it's about empowerment. And I tell people, well, I said, you're about leading in your community. You can be the go-to person. And in closing, for people who are in school, let's say I need translators at these blood drives. It takes an hour for regular blood drive. If I have to get on the phone and call the translation line, we're looking at 3 hours. And I need more than enough Portuguese speaking people. I need people who speak Quiche. I need people who speak Spanish. We need people.
Yes.
So that's
and I want to say shout out to Nisha, who also threw up this tidbit of information here. She said, beware of the requirements you may need to meet to donate blood if you're a part of the LGBTQ plus community. That's important too. Thank you for dropping that link, Nisha. We appreciate you. Nisha's someone who's, I can't even explain to you how much of an instrumental part she's been in as far as a villager and someone who works in all these different boards and dynamics to help, again, empower, not enable. What you're talking about is when we sit at these tables, when we're asked to sit at these tables, but we're not provided a voice, that's enablement. And that's how we get ourselves caught into this thing where our own people can look at us a certain kind of way. They need to see us taking the lead and taking charge, and especially more of our young women of color and young women of in those communities as well. So I'm super, like, I've always considered myself working in my wife's shadow, actually. My wife is an immensely strong, talented, well-spoken, completely dedicated.
It wasn't for your wife.
Yeah, exactly. She shakes people down. She ain't playing. She's like, come over here and do this. And people tend to come do it because of the work that she actually does. It's more so what we do than what we say. Our voices matter, but it's also the action that we follow with our voices too. So shout out to all those people that empower us to do what we do, that are understanding the paradigm shift that we're in, that are understanding some of their privileges in order to be able to provide us these platforms and these spaces to be able to speak to one another. And even more so, just getting to the point where they're hands off and we do the work we need to do.
Well, in closing, in terms of that, in terms of privilege, I always say I'm here because somebody exercised their privilege.
Correct.
I stay here because of those who refuse to exercise their privilege for me. And we all have people who we think are allies who are close and will pass on the back and say you're doing great and friend request you on Facebook. But when it comes to doing that extra step, they're like, what?
Yep. Lost in the sauce.
Oh, I'm sorry. So thank you.
Again, thank you so much. I appreciate this conversation so much. We'll have a further in-depth conversation down the line. We kind of treat these as our appetizer sampler. We want to get the faces and names connected and have people understand how they can get involved and basically just get the information out there as much as we can. We've prided ourselves as Third Eye in the last year, well, over time, but really in the last year, especially through these virtual mediums and being like a resource directory. You can go back and watch any of our content and find out that there are a plethora of great programming in our cities. The issue is people being aware of them and people feeling like they completely understand that the doors are open. Don't wait to be allowed at these tables. The doors are open. Walk through. These programs make their finance. They make their ability to do what they do off of the ability to service your community and service you.
Well, you're 100% right. I was talking to Corinne Williams about that and about all the different organizations that need people on these boards to take positions of power. And like if I leave people with anything, if you don't join the Red Cross, join something. And get on a board so you can have your voice. If you look at people like Stacey Abrams, Cori Bush, she was a Black Lives Matter activist, and now she's a rep in Congress. When they see people in power, it sends a message to young people that you can do it, and it says a message to the allies that you're listening, because they're listening to what she has to say. If you don't see people